everybody? What's up, everybody? We're back here. Apologies for the technical issues on Bill's stream, but we should be good to go over here on mine. If you guys are having some audio issues, please let me know. But also, if you join and you can hear us well, let me know that so that's going well as and we'll take it from the top here. Bill, you want to reintroduce here what we're looking at in front of everybody's eyes?
Yeah, so we had some really good discussions on Slack today, kind of about the Star Wars CCG retro community and open community. And I thought today would be good to go over some of these comments, react, get our own opinions, and try to kind of fuel kind of a good discussion for community growth, et cetera, in the future. And I think if you can scroll a little bit down, there's a first comment from Kendall Horn at 9:42, your time, I believe. If you can scroll down just a little bit. Yeah, and if you can click that comment, you see that says one reply. If you click that comment there, we'll see Red V's response to Kendall. It should, if you click that, open there. Yeah. So I really love this comment here. It says, regarding the community, I really wish we get into retro, players to come, to play retro majors, either as side events or with occasional main event. The retro community hasn't really shown up when we had retro events at majors, et cetera, et cetera. And Red V's talking about how he put a retro event at Vegas last year. He says functionally, the open community feels separate from retros. The majority of Discord for retros on Discord versus Slack. PC needs a retro marketing advocate, et cetera, et cetera. I think the retro player base is a higher percentage of I don't have much time due to family work time commitments. I won't read all of this. You guys can kind of read that on the screen, but I just kind of wanted some of WormTime your thoughts and teacher your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I do think that, the retro community, as he mentioned, is a little bit more casual there, and that, they don't have as much to dedicate to the game as these players who have been playing for, 20, 30 years. And, um, to that degree, I think a lot of them don't even have uh, collections of cards that they would even be able to participate in tournaments with. I think the rule is that if it's an old school card, you have to have it, right? You can't use a slip of a regular card, right? Only virtual
Yeah, if
cards.
you if you, yeah, you need to have the underlying base card on virtual cards. Like for example, from the Kenobi show, the third sister, they used Saber 3 for the underlying card, which just third sister, Saber 3. So
Yeah, but like if
sorry,
you want to play
random.
Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, you have to have a Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, right?
Oh yeah, but there's no virtual
And
card for the Skywalker
and
Jedi
so
Knight.
and
Yeah,
so if
well,
I want to go to a tournament and play a deck and it a retro deck for Death Star 2 and it contains 4 copies of Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, that's $1,000 deck.
Yeah, although uh, Ellie, no girl, messaged and said that they removed the underlying card rule for V cards.
That's
So
good. That's
like,
good.
yeah. So you can't proxy a anything to Decipher originals, but all the V cards are are good.
Right, but so if I want to go to a retro tournament like Red V is saying here, I think they're having one
Oh
in
yeah,
San
and
Diego.
in run like Dark Surgeon where you need like 5 or 6 emperors.
Right.
Yeah, no, thanks, no. Like
Yeah, it's
I
not
don't
really
have.
functional for me, right? And then so on top of the travel, so I think for a lot of retro players, Gemp's a much better place to play. Um, and
I I agree.
and I mean, I think that you should be allowed to use slips of whatever card. It's a 30-year-old card game. It's not like you can go out and buy packs of cards at a reasonable price. It's extremely cost prohibitive. And to say that, newer players coming into the game shouldn't have access to the most powerful cards unless they spend $250 for an out of print Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight is, I think, just a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I think this game rewards itself very well in the online just action-based format. That like it's a great thing to pitch to somebody like, hey, are you looking for something like that's really complex, like or just a difficult thing to learn, but like a really awesome game. Um, I don't know how to pitch Star Wars CCG, so um, just mention all the things that you think is cool about it, and giving that information to somebody that digs that type of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like Star Wars is something that it's very difficult to market to non-Star Wars fans. I think that if you're going to play Star Wars CCG, you have to have a passion for Star Wars because the way it's designed, it's this immersive experience in the Star Wars universe, and you have all these crazy rules that only really make sense to keep it all somewhat in line with the Star Wars universe of how things operate. And I think Decipher was good about that. It's kind of like you have a regular role playing game, and then you have these immersive open world role playing games. And Star Wars CCG is kind of like an open world game where the game can honestly take you absolutely anywhere. There's no set path. It's funny, if you play chess, you know that there are more possible positions on a chessboard than there are atoms in the universe. And Star Wars CCG would have orders of magnitude greater possibilities than the game of chess. I don't think that any two identical Star Wars CCG games have ever been played. I would wager a lot of money on that. So it's a very unique game in that respect. But I think that marketability wise, if you don't like Star Wars, you're not going to go for the game because it's too complex.
Yeah, the game with Star Wars, like we build these decks, and for me, it's like I gotta craft a story when I build my decks. And like when you play, you can kind of you can see the idea of Star Destroyers and Falcon in space. Yeah, the game just it's like you get to play your own adventure.
And I think when I was young, that was kind of the appeal, right? And that like to me, I always like kind of like alternate universe. I mean, what if Vader was hunting down Luke and Obi-Wan in the cantina, and Dr. Evazan was going to help him, and I kind of like messing with things. I loved having like a Rescue the Princess deck. We have like Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight. Like, well, what if Luke was trained to a full Jedi Knight in Tatooine, and then he went on his adventure? So I kind of like some of the anachronistic things that were possible in Star Wars CCG, just the openness. And then I really like seeing these random cantina aliens, and finding out their history and their text, and kind of, to me, that's what kind of like drew me in, kind of some of the lore. And then I think I stayed because of kind of the deep strategy personally.
Yeah, I started as a collector of the game, and I remember building my first decks, going my first tournament with my friend George. Oh man, I had like thinking starships, matching pilots, all that. That's when I learned the power of like 5 Corellian Corvettes. Just like I learned how, like, oh, if you play like there's playing like a fun thematic, and then there's playing efficient. um, it's a quick lesson in efficiency for this game.
But you could do both, and that's the good thing, is that if you want to play an
Exactly.
efficient deck, you can, and if you want to play a thematic deck, you could do that too. And sometimes it's hard to win with a thematic deck, but if you get together with a friend and you say, "Hey, we're going to play thematic decks," it really works out very well. I mean, I I was playing a game the other day. Bill, it was actually in your Jawa format, and my opponent was playing Masasi base operations, and I happened to be
No.
playing ties with with weapons. And not only did I have ties with weapons, I had Vader's custom tie. I was like, yo, I was like, it's on, right? And so I had this opportunity, and like Luke's sitting all by himself at Yavin 4. I had the canceller for hyper escape. I had it all ready to beat him down, and I just let him go. I was like, no, 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 go to the Death Star, go to the Death Star. And and eventually we got into a trench run. I had 3 ties with 3 weapons, but I missed one destiny draw, so the lead starship survived. He blew up the Death Star. It was a great time, and you can have those great games too. And again, it is very thematic, and it is like you're actually playing out those parts of the movie. I have an epic duel deck where I can't help any time that my opponent plays Obi-Wan or Luke. I start dropping movie quotes ominously, like letting them know what's about to happen. Like, you're
Yeah.
getting dueled, son. It's going down, whether you like it or not. Um, and
And
so it's a great game, but but to have that, I think again you have to have that Star Wars passion in there underlying it, because otherwise you're just not going to go after those things. And you might get one or two for the mechanics. I'm a huge fan of the mechanics. That's why I fell in love with the game. Like, I got the game because my parents knew I liked Star Wars, but I fell in love with the game because of the mechanics. And I think the mechanics are fantastic. I really wish that Wizards of the Coast would just have bought the mechanics from Decipher. God damn it, and like everybody would have been happy. We could have moved on with the game, and Wizards of the Coast could have made that.
Decipher Decipher was never going to sell
Oh, I know they
the
weren't. I know they weren't.
mechanics.
It was never going to happen. I'm just saying, in a fantasy world, like if there was a real life CCG where I got to replay this, I would make it so that Decipher gave the package to Wizards of the Coast, because now look, Decipher's long gone, right? And now the proprietary stuff's gone. Like, it's just dead now, basically. And it's never going to get resurrected. So, I mean, it's a game that eventually will fade out, and we have it for now to enjoy. I think we should be thankful for that and enjoy it while it's here. Won't have it forever.
Yeah,
I think
Agreed.
most of us
I'm
will outlive the game.
I'm really thankful for GIMP. Um, I love just having the creativity toolbox at my fingertips. Um, because the thing that I like about doing in this game is building like weird systems, weird things. Like bringing Ugnaughts and mining droids to a retro match. Um,
Yeah, what was the point of the Ugnaught, by the way?
the Ugnaught is a dark side Peregrine. You lose a card from hand to take a device or weapon from your discard pile.
Oh, so you
So
wanted the timer
the
mines. I see. I
yeah,
see.
yeah. So
Okay.
time of mine blows, and then I just ditch
You
a
you
card
get
if
it
I
back.
whatever,
You
and
get it
then
back.
boop.
I see. I see what your
Yeah.
trick was. Yeah, so that didn't work with
Um,
space so well.
right, but I mean,
I mean, you
all the
still you
people that
still
were,
won. You still won, but that's funny because you spent all this time crafting this, and I had no sites and no characters to put on the ground.
but I like. I'm actually really interested in testing the deck against like a typical Dagobah start or whatever mains, because like I got a test game in with Bill, and I think there was one specific thing in that game that allowed it to like swing in your control, and that was several Cloud City sites out. um, but yeah, like just
Yeah,
it
if
was
they
like
only
looking at the
have lower
meta.
corridor, it works well. But if they can
Yeah,
move around,
yeah, and then also there has been like when people chatting about like the reactive way things like Arconas and you know et cetera, et cetera.
whoa,
And
isn't that secret
so
tech? Hold on, hold on. Are we spoiling this already?
No,
no, no, no. This
don't
is this
spoil
is
yet.
this is it is it is a known thing.
Oh, okay, okay.
The concept, the idea is a known thing. Well, like, okay, I'm like, okay, I've been wanting to do this mining droid, not timer mine thing forever. And I was like, you know what? If there's one format where it's going to work, it's going to be this one. Like, I can have the individual meditation chamber, I can have an individual Death Star war room, and if spies do go down there, like, I have options to either U3PO or I have options to like mining droid and mine. Like, okay, yeah, you use that force and you got your guys down, and I'm going to play a droid and a mine. Okay, you're going to get that two drain in on me, which is great, and I'm going to lose the force for the mine, but it just like that's a trade I'm willing to make, and it just locks down that spot. Um, shit, I forgot where I lost track of what I was talking about. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it on.
So then,
Agreed.
so getting back to the discussion, I off railed us because I was interested, but so then responding to this, I think we want to take a look at Andy's content that he has here.
You can if you scroll down the left a little bit. I make a comment too. If you scroll down the left a little bit here, and then a rebel spy. So if you scroll down there, there's a few more comments here. We don't have to read all of these. People talk about them.
Okay, here we go.
Yada
Bill
yada yada.
Bisco's 2 at 12:02 p.m.
Okay, so here's my comment. So anyway, but basically, like I just like there's a few comments from a few like open players, like they really want the shields, right? And this is kind of another thing. Like I'm gonna say personally, I don't love the shields. I think a lot of the open players really want the shields. They're used to it. They don't want to deal with some of the gotcha cards. Um, so I talked a little bit about Star Wars CCG 2.0 Voxeroth. We had a meeting there, but there's a comment from a Rebel Spy. If you scroll down there and you click the reply there, I thought was interesting there too. His opinion from the open side.
Nope. This is
So you click that reply
Jar
there.
Jar 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 Drinks.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, Jar Jar Binks. Yeah. So yeah, he has an interesting comment. How do I get the counter card in my hand? In the open mindset, like they want to have the cards, they want to have the counters. The retro mindset, like you might have to do more copies. But yeah, scroll down the left side. A Rebel Spy. Uh, Rebel Spy comments. Yeah, yeah. Not that one. Yeah. Rebel Spy will continue.
Okay, here we go. I don't play retro because I find it boring. The format is fixed, nothing changes. We can argue about if the meta is solved or evolves or whatever. Naturally, all metas shift, even in a dead game. But without new content, I don't care. If Open stopped producing new content, I'd be done with it in a year or two, closer to the former, I bet. There's a mythos of open players are scared of the cheese slash playing against retro players, have 20 years of doing that, learning the meta, whatever, and that's why we don't play it. But I can say that this isn't the case for
Oh,
me.
I don't think so. No.
In fact, when we had decent retro events with solid prizes, I signed up. There was, I don't know, like 100 people that played. It cut to the top 8, then it went to playoff brackets. So, he's saying, it's just that it's stale, even though there are meta changes that the game is that it's just stale. Is that the
And,
general gist?
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just asking. I'm just confirming. That's what I got from it, but I just want
Yeah,
to confirm
no,
that's
and
kind of
that's
what
what
we're.
he said. That's what he said, and I think there is that part of it. Like Katura from Lord of the Rings Camp, he made a similar comment. That's why he has his own players' council versions of it. That's why he adds new cards, and frankly, that's why the players' committee for Star Wars CCG they do add new cards because his mindset is important to a big chunk community. They do want the new content. They do want some new meta. They don't want to just rehash the same old cards, which I do get it. Um, I don't. I think like teacher said, I don't entirely agree. There's like this mythos or scared of the cheese. Like I will say like M. Erisman, like
Nah.
he gets really mad if you play cheese or certain things in
He's
camp.
the number one cheeser. I don't understand that from him. He plays a dangerous time to reorder your force pile and then follows it up with a voyeur because he knows that he's stacked all your interrupts at the top and what those interrupts are. Now listen, that's a valid strategy, whatever. That's how the cards play. But you can't complain that somebody's playing a cheesy strategy when you're literally manipulating their deck. I don't. I think that's kind of bogus, man.
The manipulator deck that came out in the original Cloud City time. Oh man, that was
Well,
a fun deck.
that's why we're playing Cloud City Modified right now, right? Because
Yes.
you have a dangerous time, scanning crew, defensive fire, monarch, and I feel like I'm missing a card in there. But it basically just shuts down your entire hand. You're never getting anything good. They're always going to be at the
Yeah.
bottom of your force. All the good cards go to the bottom of your force pile. Or if you need to deploy, they know because, like, let's say they're threatening a drain of like 4 or 6 or whatever, they'll stack all your good cards at the top of your force pile. So you have to either draw to your good cards and lose the big drain, or you put it back. And then yeah, and then the second you do, you're like, okay, well I picked up my good rebels. Boom, scanning crew, scanning crew, scanning crew. They're gone. Like that's just such a stupid deck. I mean, it works. It's the same thing like Premier to Hawk. All
Yeah.
we did was scanning crew people, and we basically just ran over the entire league. It was so
Oh, yeah.
dumb. It was so dumb. You have to have a modified format for these things. Decipher made a good game, but it has flaws. And I mean, I understand that. Yeah, you want new cards to come into the game, and I think that that's reasonable. But the problem is that it it's not retro anymore. Then. Like
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, but it's not retro then.
When I attended Worlds, I can't remember who I was talking to, but like asked about retro, and the response I got was something akin to like, "Hey, I took time off at work. I traveled out here to hang out with my friends. And there's also a Star Wars event. Now, okay, like the majority of my friends, they play open, so I'm going to play what the majority of my friends are playing." And then it also kind of became a mention of, you know, I'm here to see people that I haven't seen in like the past year or two or whatever. Um, like I would rather spend time with them like hanging out than in silence playing a card game. So so the vibe I got was like, hey, we all travel. Those that travel play open. This is what we're gonna play, and they really enjoy open. And open has some fun like thematic opportunities. I can't play it competitively for shit, um, but I definitely enjoy dabbling and making decks because like I get to kind of create my own little stories with like the episode one and the sequel trilogy content.
Mhm. Yeah, and I listen. I think that like the players committee has done a pretty good job at making virtual cards. Like, and if you look at what they're trying to do when they make virtual cards, you can definitely see that they are trying to incorporate thematic elements. They're trying to get decks that, like Teacher said, tell a story, and I think that's fantastic. But season after season comes out of it, and unfortunately, power creep hits, as it does with any game. As you try to change the meta, you make more powerful cards, and then you need more powerful and more powerful cards. And the thing is, it just eventually gets so warped that the numbers are comical.
I will say that in open, they do a good job of errata of older cards. Like if there's something that makes something overpowered, instead of making something new, they'll like strip out part of the engine that like makes it just supercharged, um, to balance it out. Like they do like
Yeah,
I
they
know they
do,
port
but
the
you still
data.
can't
Like,
overcome the overall power creep. I mean, if you look at the open
well,
games,
yeah,
every character
it,
who
it,
hits
it
the table draws destiny on their own, fires a automatic weapon that they have with them, and then executes some superpower during the battle, which can change the tide if you just have a regular old character. And
yeah.
again, it's just that it's inevitable when you again have a game that you want to change the meta, that power creep's going to come into it. But I think that, because of that, in a game like Star Wars, where it's not numerical based, like in a lot of games, power creep is just like, okay, now I do 50 billion damage instead of 50 million, and but in Star Wars, like there's this cap limit. Like Destiny's cap out at 7, abilities cap out at 7. For most power cards on the ground, it's like 7 or 8. In space, 9 or 10, really, with some outliers, but for the most part. But now again, it's just like there's so many choices of all those cards that there's no room for the small cards anymore. There's no point to having the little cards, and even the little cards are like Destiny 7 character, or yeah, power 2, ability 2, but has the ability to draw destiny on his own and cancel opponent's destiny, and if it gets lost, you send it to your use pile. It's just very, very powerful. They're all super, super powerful cards nowadays. And so,
Yeah, it's
the old cards get no love. And if you like the old game, and if you're nostalgic for the old game, you don't get to play with Darth Vader T-Lots. You're not playing with, Premier Vader, or even like Lord Vader. You're playing with these amazing improvements over them. And again, it's not to diminish what the PC's done. They've done a great, great job. I agree with what Teacher said. They errata things, they bring it on down. But unfortunately, power creep is real, and for me, it's just like it makes the game silly.
it. I can agree that the game makes you silly, um, or whatever. But like I don't know. I will say that like if I was gonna be playing like tabletop cards, like it's gonna be open because like that's what everybody has built. I do enjoy, making decks for it. Um, you know, nobody has retro decks built, so if I were playing, I'd be borrowing a deck. But like, I don't know, like I think Open is just a completely different game. I haven't really figured out how to be competitive in it, and to do so, like, I would have to watch a lot of games and actually like pay attention and actually see like what they're doing. Um, Oftentimes I have games up and it's just like background stuff while I'm doing something else. I don't really watch them to like learn. But yeah, like Open, there's it plays a completely different way. Things are powerful. There's pull engines, and it's the most popular over the table format. Um, and then like retro, then there's okay, oh hey, like I played this game in the past. Here's this thing. Oh wow, I can like play it online. Cool. I have access to all of the cards. I can build whatever I want. Cool. Um, like GIMP is fantastic for the retro player. Um, like honestly, I feel like the two are kind of separate. Like really, in person to me is Open and retro is online. Like it's just I think I think it works.
I
So
appreciate those comments. And I think, and obviously, everyone's going to have their own opinion, but I think my opinion is a little bit similar to Worm Time in this, in that I personally don't love the power creep within the Decipher era, right? I don't really love, like when I was a kid, I mean, Reflections 2 is like one of my first big sets, right? And, only, with time passing and retrospectives did we kind of realize some of the power of Watch Your Step and power of AOBS. um, I still hate the design of that objective, right? Because Imperial City, the cards in the objective have nothing to do with Shizor or whatever. But regardless, yeah, then we had like Tatooine, and so you have Maul, and you have extra sabers, and then very very quickly the game turns into the Qui-Gon Jinn with lightsaber, Darth Maul with lightsaber, defensive shields, and then Screaming Lando and maintenance cards, and so even within the Decipher format, I think some people made some comments a while ago, like you kind of see where they ended up with kind of like Thebe Palace compared to where they were a year ago of, kind of, Death Star 2 slash, Jabba's Palace Steel deck. I think, you know, for me, I like to feel that a lot of the cards printed, and if you think about the majority of the printing run, Premiere, Hoth, Cloud City, etc., right? Like those cards nowhere near as good as kind of towards the end. And so, yeah, to me, I don't love the power creep of Open. And I'll admit I have played some, and I think I
well, you're
first range. Go
I
ahead.
mean, I
Yeah.
feel like you're talking about the power group of Open, but you're focusing on the Decipher era cards.
I am. I mean, to me, it's an extension. I mean, I think Mr. Purple,
Well,
Matt Sokol. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say like okay, at the end of the game, or at the end of Decipher's license for Star Wars, um, the modern Star Wars game was starting effects, defensive shields, all the Reflections 3 stuff, lightsaber combat, all that. So the game that those people continued, that is where it was in its life. And like that has evolved over the years, and they've done like the original B sets and they did the resets because things were getting really powerful, and they did they release some stupidly overpowered things. First Order. I was complaining about it the first time I saw it. I'm like, unlimited moves and you activate force, free. No, but it's fixed now. Like it took time. It's fixed, but that taking time, like for how that affected me as a player was, I'm not going to play when I dabble in decks and I want to make a deck. I'm not going to make a first order objective because I know it's going to change, and I think it's stupidly broken. And I think anybody that's playing it right now, you're just like, why? You need a win that bad? You need a dopamine hit.
Yeah. So.
And then when right, but so and then like the errata set came out, set 26 errata, and then that, or sorry, 26 errata and a 27 preview card. um and yeah, like they took out a lot of cogs to, the overpowered thing, and to like they put in they put in work to create a balanced build. I don't know how to play the format properly, so I play decks for fun and for thematic, and I usually lose. When I do win with a Test 6 Jedi deck, um, I feel very happy. Thank you very much. Um, but like, the people that started open, the game was already powerful. Um, and then there's people like us that, or like, I will say myself that the game that I like competitively, like, is retro through like Death Star 2. Um, it is like, it's the game, like, I know it's the game I learned. Like, I just love the way the system works. So, I've had fun messing around with like Decipher Card Only and Classic Novi. That's some fun stuff. Um, but like, I'm okay with both sandboxes to play in. Um, Retro or open, I just kind of build fun thematic decks, as I kind of think of the game as like a story as I'm playing. Like, oh, I want to make a clone army deck. Like that's cool. Um, but the one where like I play competitive and I want to win is retro. Um, don't really know where I'm going with that, but just
I think you made a good point, and you mentioned early, you kind of see them as two different games, and I think maybe part of the things that trips up, these conversations is how people view the way the game it should be, because in my natural state, to me, like every card should potentially be useful. In the open mindset, that's not necessarily true. Like, no, these are old cards. They're not as good. We're going to make cards on par with Screaming Lando. And when you play open, that's kind of the mindset you have to have. And I guess that's a valid mindset. In the open players, their mind is like, I need to have a counter card. How do I get it? And the retro mindset is have copies. Open mindset is how do I get my location? Retro mindset is you might have to have copies of those just to make sure you have enough. Those are kind of two different approaches to kind of how the game should be played.
Now we
yeah,
do have
and it
some comments here from VHD, talking about your previous comments, Bill and Charles. He says that I think for a lot of players that enjoy retro, kind of dislike post DS2 cards, kind of alluding to what you were talking about, Bill. And he further goes on, says, I'd go as far as saying a lot of retro players pretend Tatooine sets and beyond never existed. And yeah, I mean, I get that. And, if you look at when they post leagues for Reflections too, they don't get much traction at all. When they post leagues for like Premiere to Tatooine, they get no traction at all. So I certainly agree with that. And I think that to a degree, Charles, I think you're a better historian than I am, but, you know, as Decipher came to the end, they knew the end was coming. And I don't think
yes,
Decipher ever envisioned their game lasting as long as it had. And I don't think they had really that much of an incentive not to bang out some uber powerful cards that could drive the purchasing of their last few sets while they had the license. And I think that's why you see these cards in those episode one sets that are just so ridiculous. Because of just the fact the contract was ending. And again, I don't think that they thought of long term consequences for creating cards that powerful. I don't think that it ever crossed their mind. The game was dead.
oh, um, so historian. I worked for Wizards at the time of the purchase. Um, I went to Decon Florida 2000, which was, I think, October 2000, and like, I already knew that Wizards had acquired the license starting in 2002. Um, so here I am, playing this game I love and traveling across the country to see people that I love, and knowing that every one of those conversations of like, oh, like next year was gonna be like, oh, like, you know, we're losing our game, and yeah, like it wouldn't surprise me if Decipher crammed out all those sets in 1 year to make bang, because like Reflections 3, I want to say like that released really late in the year, because, well, DecipherCon 2001 was canceled because of 9/11, and then the tech guys, David Akers and Neil Razi, put on FreedomCon in Virginia Beach, um, in lieu of DecipherCon, and so like a lot of us, flew out there. I flew out to play, um, and also a couple of reps from Wizards came out to try to be like, oh hey, like, or you know check out our game too, just try to get like, just trying to connect with the player base. um, and this was when I think Harry Potter came out, which is why I say December. But yeah, like it just, and even at that like last one, like, you know that felt like it was like the last big event. And after that, it just became the DPCs and the players, the community, like the community got together with Decipher and they made the deal to like continue the game, uh, because the game is beloved. Like, it's Star Wars. Like, you know, we all love Star Wars. We're all nerds. Um, we love this game, and it really sucked. Like knowing it was going away. Like every local event, like every weekend, going out and playing. Just so yeah, like that one, just that discussion, that question, that argument of WotC Decipher licenses, it just it just breaks me every time, dude.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks, and it's a shame to never have known where the game could have gone if not. But again, I do think the game owes so much gratitude to the players committee, and the fact that they've been able to keep it living for this long. So even though I don't play open, I really don't have any drive to do it. I haven't really enjoyed the open games that I've tried to play. But I'm certainly thankful nonetheless that it's there, because I don't think Gemp would be here if the PC didn't do what they've been doing. And so
Exactly.
even
Yeah.
though I'm a retro player, I have a debt to the PC.
Yeah. Um, it would just be nice if we stopped having these this side this and that side that arguments, and just like like just have understanding. um, like, you know, I mean, kumbaya, right? Just, you know, we all we all love Star Wars. We're all nerds. Like, let's just embrace that and enjoy either version of this game that we play.
I think that's a really good point. And maybe WormTime, if you will scroll down a little bit more, there's some other suggestions that are had. I think if we want to get to kind of the kumbaya a little bit more, that I think are appropriate here.
And
So,
who am I looking for here, Bill?
well, if you kind of go towards the end, like I think Kendall talks again. He talks again. Like if you scroll up a little bit. Okay, yeah. Actually, it's below Andy's. So, Andy has this comment here. I think maybe I'll just talk this a little bit here. But yeah, if you look at the median retro player he was talking about, Kendall was, he's basically saying that I think it's intimidating. So I think for some people, like a narp, or even me, like, or someone else like me, whatever, like, they're used to playing retro, to play open, like there's a big card pool, is an issue, right? And I think sometimes having preset decks. So one thing that Kendall had towards the end, maybe I think it's gone now. It's fine. I'll talk through what he said. but basically saying like, "Hey, Red V, can you send me a deck? Right? Can you send me a deck for the next retro event? Right?"
Right.
And that's something that helps. So I think not everyone wants to commit to time events. Like I know some of the open games I played, I literally just took kind of like from like a regional basically, that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I think asking open players to play more retro. Obviously, I think competitive decks is admit it. No one likes to lose. Even if you're a brand new player, no one likes to lose. And I think you both made some good comments about taking your licks and being you know resilient, and if you survive, you get better. But that was one suggestion that was good, and I think maybe we can kind of go over some of Andy's comments here too, which is also related to this conversation. So, Andy had a long post. I'm not going to read every little thing about here, but he's kind of comparing kind of where we are with kind of Magic. It's true. Magic is a much bigger community. It's been around longer. I think that's just something that we just have to kind of accept here. But you can keep on going a little bit here. Or if you have a comment, go ahead.
No, I mean, Andy has a lot of thoughts about that, but I feel the same way as you. Like, we're not Magic the Gathering. We're never going to be Magic the Gathering. You have a card game that's been number one CCG in the world for 2 decades, 3 decades now. 3 decades. Have they ever been not the number one CCG? Have they ever been dethroned? Like,
I mean, are you talking about straight sales, like revenue?
I would say, sure, we
Because
could go that way. I was
Pokemon,
thinking player base, but sure, revenue, I guess, is fair.
I mean, Pokemon.
Pokemon beat him for a while.
No, Pokemon is still huge.
Pokemon's bigger than Magic.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know specific numbers, but I'm just telling you that Magic is like nerds. Pokemon is global. Like,
Okay, okay, all right. So
um,
number two. So
like,
number two. Either way, number one, number two.
but like one game is collected, and one game is played mostly. But there are a lot of Magic collectors as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, Pokemon is definitely a collector's game. But and they had Yu-Gi-Oh for a while, right? Wasn't that a thing? Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that.
I
Yu-Gi-Oh
mean,
was
whatever.
big. It
But I
was
mean,
big. It's nowhere near as
but
big, but yeah, it's still a thing.
but look again, it's like teacher said, we're a small community, like it's never going to be that. And I don't think, like, I think that there should be outreach, and I do think that we should try to get new players, and I think of course we should be very respectful and very helpful to newer players. But I think that what's most important for the game is retaining as much of the player base that we have for as long as we can, and kind of goes back to the comment that was posted on Slack earlier about, like, if they stopped making virtual sets, then people would stop playing open, and I could see that. I could absolutely see that. I could see them wanting the meta to change like that, and I mean,
Yeah,
what are you
and
gonna
Yeah.
do? We got to keep
and
it moving.
I've I've heard Joe say those words in person multiple times. Um, and yeah, like I hear him. I he he gets together, to hang out with people that he loves and to argue with Hayes during Avalon.
Yeah.
So,
Um, and I get that. I guess to me, I mean, I totally get the idea for you want an evolving meta, you want new content. I get it. But from I guess like I mean, chess is still very popular, right? I mean, the game of modern classical chess has been around for hundreds of years, right? And so yes, we have chess 960, and yes, we have chess variants, and I enjoy the chess variants, whatever. But um, you still have a core game that is enjoyable for millions of people. And so for me, Star Wars CCG, I think a lot of the retro formats are enjoyable. I do think the PDS2 is the most popular kind of retro format, at the moment. And it's still, for all its flaws, it's still enjoyable. So I think having something that is quote unquote stale is not necessarily a bad or wrong thing. If the game is good, the game is good.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that point of view as well, and that's my view. I enjoy the retro format. It's not that I'm out there longing for new cards to be added. Really, the only non-staleness I'd like is that if people played some more formats, like again, like past Death Star 2 and stuff like that. There's some fun things to be had there, and I think trying stuff with earlier sets is good too. But I can certainly see the other side of it as well, and I don't think that either opinion is a correct opinion so much as just simply a point of view. It's a perspective, and people are entitled to both views there. And there's going to be some people who want new cards, and there's going to be some. I mean, chess is, yeah, it's a game that's been around. There's also a lot of people who hate chess. There's like the majority of the world doesn't play chess at all. So while it is a great game, it has those people who are passionate about it. I love chess, but I don't expect Joe Schmo off the street to be like, yeah, let's play a chess game, brah. um, you know, so
If a Joe Schmo off the streets like, let's play a chess game, bro, you're about ready to lose $20.
how dare you? I'm very good at chess. I'm very good at chess. I don't know. I don't know. I
I know
mean,
you are,
I
Mr.
mean, they're
1800.
hustlers for sure, but man, I might take my chances. I don't know. $20, I'll put $20 up.
Just for the story, it's worth $20.
I mean, if I wouldn't go to I wouldn't go to Central Park and play one of those guys for $20. Obviously not. But like, if it was a chance encounter and I was the one who initiated it, and I was like, "Yo, you want to play chess?" and they were like, "Yeah, you want to play for $20?" I would have to take the $20 challenge at that point. I think, and I would just play as solid as
Of
possible.
course. Yeah, but yeah, but as it comes to this game, um, you know, I've I'll repeat. I think I can look at it as two separate games at this point, um, and I'm okay with that. Um, Others are like I don't know. My opinion is that we both can enjoy. If a player wants to just randomly play a retro game sometime and they hop in, you know, be excited that you see um, Brad or Hayes, um, like they're you know they're kicking it old school. They're having like a trip down memory lane playing with you.
Yeah, what do you think about this next paragraph here that Andy talks a little bit about the community and how we interact with some people who may be finding their way back to the game. And he mentions here that they often have the same questions. It's understandable because they're different people and they don't know what the previous person asked. And that, those people are kind of brushed off, acted like a nuisance. And I mean, I could see that to a degree because, like, if you go on the Reddit Star Wars CCG, I think it's Reddit/r/Star Wars card game, maybe Star Wars CCG. I think you have to type some of it out, but you could find it. And there is a lot of questions of like the same stuff like, I found this box of commons. How much is it worth? And I've posted this, I've scoured through the eBay listings and I've tallied up all the cards in my collection and it's worth $17,000. And everybody's like, nobody's paying that. Get out of here, and I can see that they're brushed aside. And I think Andy's right to a degree. Those people should be encouraged and we should be extremely tolerant of answering the same question over and over again and still doing it enthusiastically. I think you got to take the Target Walmart greeter approach to it. Like, it's just your job to be happy and smile and do it, and that's part of enjoying the game, is that you're gonna give back in that way, which I think is a fair point that he's making here. And I sure hope that I haven't done that to anybody. And I would say, shame on those who have belittled or ignored the same repetitive questions, as repetitive they may be.
Yeah, I think this is a good paragraph. I mean, I know we talked earlier, but I mean, like on GIMP, I think people are always friendly to newbies. Always put like, we always encourage people like if you're new, like say I'm new to the game, and people will take time. I've taken time with new players. I think a lot of Steve Sanders' advocacy has been trying to kind of go to Reddit and places and get them to join kind of the NARP Retro League. And I think it's true to say that if someone's finding this game, they probably don't want to jump right into open. They need to learn the game. If you're going to learn the game, it's probably Premiere and New Hope, and then you go up, and then maybe one day they like open or
But
not
what if
or
they
whatever.
join and they play a Premier game and they face X Vader?
Um,
Because they
that
might not
could be
have
an
a good
issue.
time. They might
Yeah,
not have a good
it's
time doing that strategy that you're advocating for here. And so I think that's kind of like, again, our responsibility as a community and, to identify, hey, I haven't seen this screen name before, and I do think, at least in Gem Chat, people are good about that. People are supportive in Gem Chat, and I don't see anybody get brushed off there.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I do think it makes a good point. I think some more collaboration, Star Wars Kumbaya would be good for this because I think new blood is important. And he's right. I mean, in 40 years, I mean, our existing players base with their 70s, 80s, and 90s. I mean, that's true to say. So, if this game is going to exist in 40 years, there has to be new blood, and that's hard. I know my kids are interested in Star Wars CCG. Maybe one day, who knows? It's difficult to translate to a new generation.
it it's definitely an artifact of its time.
What about Andy having $100,000 of Star Wars cards? That's a lot of Star Wars cards money.
That's a lot.
Um, I'm not a fan of like dropping a dollar amount while going on like a final letter.
Oh, it's not a final letter.
So
I don't believe for
like
a
like
minute
like
that
like like,
Andy
like
won't be seen on Gemp. I guarantee you he will be back on Gemp and he will play this game. It's not going to be the same as it was where he's playing a lot, but Andy will hop back on and play. I think sometimes.
yeah, because sometimes you want that trip down memory lane.
Yeah,
Um,
the member berries.
but I don't, like being like, oh, I sold all my shit for whatever. Like, you don't need to flex that. Um,
um.
but
So
I
what
mean,
else?
one thing I love it. I love Andy. I know he also, um, is very opinionated, and he has some strong opinions.
So what do you think about this opinion here? This is a fairly strong opinion. In a reductionist sense, that's virtually how every competitive Star Wars CCG game plays out. Both sides jockey for position until one gets a few cards behind and cannot recover. Come from behind wins are far rarer than in Magic. Um, I don't play Magic, so I don't. I mean, I've played Magic, but I don't play Magic. How often are come from behind wins? So let's say you fall behind. You get what, 30 life force in Magic?
In Commander, you get 30. Well, competitive Commander. Otherwise, a regular Commander get 40. A regular, like standard game, it's 20 life.
All right, so
Um,
let's say you're down, right? In a standard game, let's say 12 or 13 to 20, and in a commander game like 20 to 30. How often can you come back there? Is it I mean, because like statistics would say the first one you should only be coming back like what, 20%, 25%?
I
I
mean,
mean, you can't. They're two completely different games. You can't really compare them. Um,
Well, Andy just
like
compared.
I understand that I understand the desire to compare them, but it's like Magic is you. I mean, Magic. Okay, you have your land out or your mana stones or whatever for your resources. You're drawing one card a turn. The way you're getting more cards is if effect on tables giving you cards or like spells are giving you cards or something like that. And like, okay, he's playing like these like very niche like 93, 94 um, time frames for Magic, but like I feel like Commander is king right now in Magic, and Commander nights at stores are having a lot of people. Um, I get together with my friends nearly every weekend for Commander, and it's like noon to 10 p.m. Like I have 19 Commander decks now. It's fun. It's a completely different game. Um, and
I would just add on to what you're saying that like in Magic you have like combo decks, right? And so yeah, you may
yeah,
be down to one life force. You may be sacrificing your life and paying life to get your two combo cards, and then you draw in your combo cards, and then the game is won. You could call that a win from behind, but it is a different game, it is a different dynamic.
if
You
your
have
deck if your deck wins the way you expect it to win, that's a win condition. And if your deck is designed where it can win like from behind, congratulations, like that's your deck. Your deck is like, I'm gonna take damage while I get it set up, and now here it is.
Well, I mean, if we're just going by that, I mean, you could say that every Ralops wins a come from behind win because Ralop's going to put half its deck
It,
on the table
it,
and be down in
it
life force in the first 3 turns. That's just how the deck
uh-huh.
plays. Like, what do we can it's kind of what is the definition of a comeback win? I was trying to quantify it with numbers, in Magic, and then hopefully, take it to kind of Star Wars in the same way. Say, how often do we come back from these things? But same thing, like if you play echo base operations, you're technically playing from behind. Some you could even say that of like Profit just sits there and does nothing for a while, and eventually it's like, I guess I'll get around to freeing Han and blowing you out of the water. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, every when you build your deck, you need to ask yourself the question, how is this deck gonna win? And then you have to also ask the questions, what stops this deck from winning?
yeah.
And you build your decks. You know your play lines. You know your lines, and that that we'll say that come from behind win. Um, Maybe it's, you know what, the last few times I played this, I've made this play. I'm going to try a different play this time. And then, like, 5 turns later, it pays off as part of your come from behind, um, because you've learned a game line. And maybe think of those come from behind wins as like you just advanced your deck. The winning player just advanced their deck, like like in a tier. Like you were here, but you pulled it off, and now you've learned how you pulled it off, and you can be sure to like be aware of that type of thing in the future. Um, and the player that had it and just saw it slip away, well, now you're aware of that one little wrinkle that may have happened 5 turns earlier. That you know both players both players grow in that situation if you are absorbing the game and like wanting to retain the knowledge, to be as competitive and focused in deck building as you can.
I think that's a perfect segue into Andy's next comment, which he completely disagrees with that and says that your opinion's trash. Um, and he says that I gave Open a genuine run, several hundred games, both light side and dark. Format's balanced, there's good decks on both sides, but I can sit across from any opponent now and with very high confidence what outcome will happen before the game actually occurs. Skill gaps are enormous, and the only real path to closing them is a significant time investment. And here he says practicing Star Wars CCG effectively is genuinely difficult. You might execute nearly everything correctly and then make one misplay on turn 8, blah, 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 and still lose the game. Or worse, you make a
Yeah,
suboptimal choice on turn 3, blah, 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 and have no way of
yeah,
recognizing it in a 55-minute game where those two events appear completely unrelated. I mean, I kind of agree with you, Charles. Like, I feel
but
like
yeah, you
when
can,
I
yeah,
oops
you
like early in the game, and I'm like, oh god, that's really coming back to haunt me now.
yeah. Like I refer to it as a uh, okay, when I start, like, when I create a deck and I'm going with a build and start just going and playing shit, I'll I'll just concede out of games quickly, because in my mind, like, I'm in a testing lab mode,
Yep.
and I'm just at pause, restart level.
Yep.
Like that didn't work. Fine. Like, okay, let's try this
This was
exchange.
like the
Let's
first
try
6 months
this.
of my Star Wars CCG career, and everybody got so goddamn mad at me. like teacher. They were
Yeah.
like WormTime. He just quits. You see, and he's never gonna be any good because he's a quitter. And I'm like,
No,
just what do you
you're just
care? Calm down, bro. And they're all like, no, I'm mad about this. I had this big hash it out like we're cool now, but like Dark Deal 44 was like flipping out. Chad, he's like, I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, it's when you're building, man, or learning, pause, restart level. There's there's a lot of deck types in retro that like I never played back in the day, but hey, I get to build them now on GIMP, and I have all the cards at my disposal. And okay, sure, I spent a lot of time and a lot of money and stuff on cards back in the day, and wish I had all my cards still. Like I could put together a Dark Surgeon deck. I had 6 Emperors or whatever you need. But now, like, I want to make a Trooper deck. I want to make a Walker deck. I want to make a Titan. Like, just
yeah, and like honestly, teacher, they're good decks, and like I think kind of I disagree with the point that was made earlier. I can't remember which person it was. Shame on me, but the one that said like retro's stale. Like, I'm sorry, but like I feel like, and especially this year, that even like each event and weeks within the event, the meta is changing, the strategies are changing, and we're pulling out some incredibly ridiculous decks. I think we'll continue to do so throughout Premier to Cloud City. We've had some ridiculous decks that have failed. We've done a lot of testing on some of these things, and we had some fun ideas that we thought would be good, and turns out they suck. And I mean, that's just part of it. But I think that having access to all those cards on GEMP allows you to get creative like that and start thinking outside the box, putting some new strategies together that otherwise you wouldn't have because you didn't have the cards.
And then I also remember, like, if frozen assets ever gets programmed in, I don't like that card. If I'm building for a competitive event, Retro League, which it's a league, but we all kind of treat it kind of competitively, I feel like. Well, then I'm going to be sure that I'm prepared for frozen assets draw their fire.
Frozen assets draw their fire is going to ruin everything. Oh my god.
Oh, if I hop in like a drop-in game and I see like a frozen asset draw their fire or like numbers, I'm just like, I've had to play this over the table back in the day. I don't want to play that on GEMP, which is why I leave out of those games.
Yeah, I don't play numbers in casual format, and I don't play numbers against my opponent in casual format. Even decks, like if I'm testing a competitive deck in a casual format, and I have the numbers in my hand, I just in my head like, okay, I would have won this much force if I had insert this card, and then I just throw it in my loss pile because again, like if you're in just a casual game, what the hell are you doing like playing abusive strategies like that? Or I give my opponent heads up at the beginning, like, hey man, listen, I've created some fucked up shit here. So if this works, that's my bad. Okay? You're probably going to stomp me, but if this works, it's going to suck for you. and I am sorry in advance.
I'm pretty sure I've done something similar.
You got to be fair.
I think these are some really good points. No, I think WormTime, like with the past retro leagues, I think like your hidden base was a good innovation. I think we've had some good innovation this Premier Hoth, this PCC mod, and I think we'll continue. I agree with you. I do think that Brangus is, in the oppressive region. We'll see that more. Let's see if players actually use that tactic. Whatever. But I do think that the meta in 2001 versus 2026 is changed for retro. PDS2 as a whole. So I agree.
Yeah, so then Andy kind of makes some proposals, I think, as to what he thinks the retro community should look like. Which before we get into his comments, I think it's kind of bold to suggest what a community should look like as you're exiting said community. I won't be here for any of this, but here's what y'all should do.
Well, I've seen the like curated list that Andy has come up with for like light side and dark side of like a retro 2.0 or whatever. And there's a lot of just random cards that aren't in there. Like I remember there not being like a Commander Luke Skywalker, and I don't remember there was even a Son of Skywalker in there. And it just it the takeaway from it I get is this: at the end of 2001, the player community was gift they received the gift of being able to continue with this game that they love, and then they're like, okay, well, like it could be a sale, we need to make our own content. And then they made their own content, things got really crazy, they reset, and the PC's been pretty damn awesome, you know, creating content going forward. um, and where the current game is 25 plus 25 years of that. um, the the oh, here's the cards that I think should be like retro 2.0. That's it is one person's opinion with card choices based off of how one person plays the game. um, and a lot of the weird quirky stuff that I like to incorporate, like, not on those lists. So right there, he has lost me because it's just like black and white. This is it. This is what it should be. I'm like, well, I disagree. So no.
Well, yeah, and I think you got to be careful at how many. I'm fine with adjusting the strategy, and I'm fine with like adjusting which cards are eligible and which cards are not eligible. But you have to be careful with that. And the majority of the cards should always remain eligible. Like 95, 98% of the cards should always be eligible, and you should be banning, a small fraction of the overall cards in play. And I think that.
Which is, I was gonna say, which is why I enjoy what Bill is trying to do with a Java format for retro DS2. Um, it's like it's a 2.0 in a way.
Mhm.
So it achieves like that idea that Andy wants to get across of like, oh, like here's, like, like redo the game but like with this. Okay, well, we're not redoing the game, but we've had some very, interesting discussions on cards that, should be considered banned for Java or not. um, I vote Brangus does not get banned, but Set Your Course for Alderaan should be, because of the no battle damage at the docking bay for the site to satisfy battle plan. And, you know nobody's gonna be able to CPI deck to blow up Alderaan. Um, so, but like, that's my opinion. Um, I don't know if Brangus is on your ban list or not, but if he is, well, darn, like, deal with it.
Well, I
Um,
mean, I've played some Jawa games, and I've played them against a number of different opponents. I probably played three or four different opponents now. I think I've played Bill maybe three or four times individually, and I have to say, the games are fairly interesting. There's certainly different strategies being implemented. In some ways, some of the strategies, especially the starting strategies, resemble Scavenger just a little bit because of the restriction on objectives. But then the games play much different than the Scavenger games because you have rare cards in the game, which makes things totally different. So it's a format that's had some fun games, and I think that for those players who feel that retro is stale, I think it's a fair response to that, and I think it's a great way to keep the game from getting stale. And I think that periodically, of course, you should change which cards eventually will be banned, to keep the format fresh and exciting and things like that. Of course, without new cards entering, it's kind of difficult because then you're kind of just rotating strategies, because obviously the more you ban, the less strategies there'll be. But I think it's going to be fun. And Andy proposes here a bracket format where there's 5 different brackets, with the lowest bracket being, basically I'm really new and I don't really know what I'm doing, and or I'm not actually trying and I'm just trying to have a beer and have a good time, up until bracket 5, which is, basically like I want to cut your throat in this game. And I just don't see our player pool as robust enough to split into 5 formats like that. I don't think that's good for the game at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I mean, to me, like bracket one and bracket two are the same bracket. Like it's either a theme or it's low power, like whatever. Like it's the same bracket. It's the same picture of me. Um, Bracket three is there, like that kind of almost is in that same bracket as well. Like I think that the to me the bracket system on GEMP is the monthly leagues with anonymous pairings and like OCS and retro leagues. Like those are your upper bracket games. Anything else casual to me is like you know sometimes you can just be like there's casual and then there's like super casual. Um,
But you can always
you
talk
know,
that out, and that's what I feel like,
yeah,
people just don't
and
do.
like
Like, just talk it
yeah,
out.
and I
What
like I
game do you want here? We could cancel the game and remake the game. Like, if you see that I start
yeah
Brangus in a casual game, just tell me you don't want to play Brangus, because I want to play Star Wars. So if I have to pick another, I have lots of decks. I'll pick another deck. I don't give a damn. Like, and like, honestly, if you're gaming me for a little advantage, go fucking have a great time. I don't care. I just want to play a Star Wars game. So I'll put Brangus to the side in a casual game. Like you said, teacher, if you show up in a league game and I show up with Brangus, you're gonna have to suck it. Like, that's just how it goes. You can deal with Brangus. You're gonna play. It's gonna suck. Yeah, that's how it goes. You joined
yeah
the league game. You could have posted a casual lobby. You joined my league table. It was sitting up here. You chose that path. That's on you.
yep.
Now, if you
And
want to
I'm like
concede that game immediately,
shit.
I have no problem with that either. You lose. Okay, cool. We'll move on to the next game. And again, if you want to concede that game and post a casual lobby and tell me I'm not going to play Brangus, but if you still want to play, I'm going to join your casual lobby. Like, just use the chat.
Yeah,
Like, don't like get mad and just like, just use the chat. Tell us what you want. Like, and I think that makes it for a good experience for everybody. Like,
yeah. Just you know use chat. Share. Ask. You know
and
ask
don't show up with numbers in a
ask what you
casual
want.
game. It's rude. Everybody knows. It's like pulling your pants down on webcam. You don't do it. You don't do it, folks. You put the
Yeah,
numbers in your lost pile. It's very easy. You're going to get force strained. You take the numbers from your hand, you put it in your lost pile. It's a simple strategy. Everybody will have a better time.
yeah.
That's just how I feel.
And then he matches S tier and like yeah, bring him as strong. Ralops is strong. Hidden Base is strong. Um, Remember all those games that you played with your deck, and then sometimes you win that game, um, you know, from behind. Well, that's because you have played these competitive games, and you now have one more tech card for Hidden Base or something. Just this game evolves one card at a time. Like we have our 59 cards. It's that 60 and 61. We're bounced between those ones. This My decks evolve a card at a time.
Sure. I would just kind of agree with some of the things. I really think there's two. I really think there's competitive and there's casual. I think the other ones are kind of, versions of the same thing. 100% agree in communication. As far as come from behind, we talk about that. But like in chess, you lose an extra pawn or you lose an extra knight. I mean, of course, it's going to be hard for you to win from behind. I mean, the very fact that in Star Wars
You,
CCG you have a
you don't.
dynamic game,
You do not
you know,
win from behind in chess very often. Holy cow! That's
no,
like, I mean, and once you get to a certain level in chess, like you lose a piece, that's it. You just go ahead, you click that resign button because the other person's just going to trade everything off, and it's over. It's just over. And you're right. You're
Yeah,
right, Bill. Yeah. Who cares?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, your ability to win from behind is much greater here than other competitive games. So,
I will say, in Open that I have watched, um, like the Doom stacks can be crazy, and there was like I've I've watched openings where like a smackdown happens, the loser is peeling force damage, like a good amount, but they have that one more trick on that counter punch that that gets it back. Like I remember there was a big event in somewhere in the past few years, and somebody took like a beating early, and through just masterful play, you know, came from behind. Um, and it was like I think it was the finals for like one of the big events. Just yeah, I don't like the come from behind comment or thoughts.
I've had many games where I've came from behind. I don't really. I mean,
Yeah.
it really depends on your deck, and especially if you're light side, you can come from behind quite often due to their retrieval
Oh yeah.
force. Dark side doesn't have as much retrieval potential, although like Scum and Villainy has some games where it can just like spiral out of control. I remember one game like it was like my first like month back playing Star Wars CCG on Gemp, and like I still had no idea what I was doing, and I was playing something that was Tatooine based or something like that. And my opponent was down to like 8 force and I had like 30 some or something like that. And then something happened in the game where I just got completely locked out. Like I couldn't do anything at all. At all. And they came back and won like 30-8. Like shouldn't have been possible. And it was really funny because they were like bragging about it. They're like, yo, I fucking made this comeback. And I'm like, I didn't even know my ass from a hole in the ground. Like, I'm making it up as I go. And they're like, but he did. He made the comeback. It was a huge comeback. I agree. You could definitely come back in Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, I've always enjoyed playing Andy, and I hope we do see him around. Um, but I also support playing Magic and having fun with that too because it's a fun game, and so is Star Wars. We can
We
play both. We can
we
play them all.
I mean, yeah, you play neither. Like we all got a limited time
Yeah.
on this planet, and like if somebody doesn't want to play Star Wars CCG, I am not going to sit here and try to convince them to do it. That's for certain. But I do think that the game is. I don't feel like the game's in a bad place. I feel like the game's in a good place. I feel like the worst thing in the state of the game right now is people's attitudes towards the game, and I think that like you've seen a lot of people just really take it far too seriously on an emotional level, like getting upset about wins, losses, reverts, the whole 9 yards. And it's a 30-year-old customizable card game, and um, sometimes you're gonna lose, man. Like it's just I lost the scavenger championship. You know, my life hasn't changed. Like my life, like they didn't kick me out of my house. My wife didn't leave me. My kid doesn't think I'm a loser. Like I mean, sometimes you lose, and sometimes you make a critical mistake, and your opponent sticks it to you because of it. And sometimes they're gonna say like, no, like I'm taking this super serious, and you made a mistake, and that's how it is. And you just got to move on with life. Like it's not that serious. It's just a 30-year-old card game. And I think if people took like and that's not to say don't compete, don't be competitive. I want you to try as hard as you can, but you also have to have the understanding that we're all just
But
playing a stupid game here. Like it's a stupid game. It's it is what it is. So I think that if the community just took a deep breath, maybe smoked a joint or two, that like we do a lot better. We do a lot better. It's not that serious. It's serious, but it's not that serious.
Good points.
yeah,
Good points. Maybe we can scroll down a little bit more. He had some suggestions for his idea if he didn't leave, how his retro game PC would have gone. So I thought that was an interesting comment. You,
Where
you,
did
you
I
scroll down
had
way
I
too
had
much.
it and I lost it. Hold on. Um,
That was it. That was it right there. That's it
this
right there.
here.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, this is it. Yeah,
Okay, open seems to be
yeah,
the
yeah.
opposite. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Basically said that he would have tried to do a format of Premiere through Java's Palace. If you scroll up a little bit here, He said he'd premiere through Java's Palace, and then it would have been 15 cards from the Open, is what it would have been.
Okay, my plan for this year was Retro Game PC is premiere through Jabba's Palace, where
Yes.
45 cards must come through premiere through Jabba's Palace, and the remaining 15 could come from any other Decipher set. First of all, I don't know how Gemp would have even handled that. The charity event was going to be P to DS2 with 45 cards from the format for 15 from any open legal set, so that you'd have the two shield pullers. And what do you guys think of that?
I think,
So
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Jabba's Palace was before Special Edition.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Java's Palace, then Special Edition.
So for the Gent PC, 15 cards from Special Edition,
I mean,
Death Star,
yeah,
Death Star
but I
2,
mean,
Endor.
no,
Like,
any Decipher set. You can do Reflections 3, do
well,
Theme Palace,
oh, sure, just the that I don't like. I feel like the 45 is a ham. Like, I don't know. I just
Well, I
my
mean,
my first thought is
it's just
I don't like that.
it's just a variant, right? Like all it is you ever go to see a band who's got a catalog of like 200 songs and they got a wheel with a bunch of songs on it and they just spin. You get to see it. Like it's the same thing. Like how would the format react if we had this collection of cards? How would the format react if we had that collection of cards? And it's really arbitrary which collection we're picking here. So I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with his choice, other than the fact that I don't think that Gemp could handle it. But like overall, I it's the same thing. Like people were like stressing Bill's ban list and saying it's got to be this, it's got to be that. It's gonna be what it is. Like there's going to be a format, and there's gonna be certain things that rise to the top, and that's
I
what it is.
I think what I think is or what I want to formulate is that I think that those 15 card choices, um, like there's only so much that can be done in Premiere to Jabba's Palace. Um, and those 15 card choices, like I I feel like it would, well, I mean, it's PC, so it's match play. Um, I yeah, I don't know. I'm done thinking about this one.
yeah, yeah. I think it's an interesting idea. I don't. I think it'd be hard to implement. I'm not. I mean, I think like you'd probably lean very hard into the non-beginning format. So you'd lean very hard on the decipher cards. It seems my gut instinct's a little bit balanced, but I know what he's trying to do is he's trying to mix things up, and I'm trying to mix things up too, right? To
Yep.
kind of make things interesting, which I applaud, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I see that thing there. I'm just like lightsaber combat, EPP Jedi's, and a Jedi's resilience. Like, just
Yeah,
like I don't know. Like,
very
I
powerful.
mean,
Very
I guess
powerful.
I guess you could have shields in there as well, but yeah. All right,
Yeah.
and then his charity event, Premier Death Star 2 with that same 45 card stipulation, but 15 from any open legal set, including the new starting effects that give you all of the shields for free. So that one gets you to dabble in the world of open, but with only 15 cards. Like that one I'm more interested in because, again, Premier SR2, you have like the whole original trilogy to play with. And there's a lot of fun virtual versions of some of the existing characters. Like the virtual Darth Vader is really fun with like the black ties. Like, you know, playing a space deck with, that Vader and his custom tie, like that'd be pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, the
I could have
problem
fun with
is
that
nobody
one.
plays it though. Like so they had Premiere to V3, if you remember, as the charity event last year. I think it was, right? Premiere to V3.
I don't believe I played.
I'm not surprised. Many people didn't. And no one plays that format now. I think you can go on. Let me see if they still have it up here. Oops. Yeah, Premiere to Virtual Set 3. See this? Yeah, they had a whole thing for it, but nobody plays it. There's no leagues for it. And I can't tell you the last time somebody, like if I was to post a lobby, I mean, is anybody even going to join it? See what I had Jedi Comic because I had no idea what I was doing.
And with those first virtual sets, because that's 4 virtual sets, because there's the V0 is the original one, right?
I have no idea. Yeah, and so they were saying that this, I guess, and what's weird is, so this format, it was up for Worlds once, right? It was like a world. It coincided with Worlds, and people were using this card Combat Readiness V as like their starting location. And I can't remember what it was, but like, so I was asking people, oh yeah, what people play? And so they're like, oh, go look at, Worlds from this year when it came out. And I went back and I found the Worlds deck and I pulled up this Naboo CRV or whatever, and I was like playing it. And I was getting trashed. Everybody was beating me and whatever. And then like, so
yeah.
I found some live stream of the Worlds from back then to like see how they were playing it or something like that. And they were, I guess something happened at Worlds where like a huge fatal flaw in the deck type was made. and everybody had to change their decks for day 2 because like once the fatal flaw was revealed, like no one could play it anymore. But it was really bizarre because in that format, I don't think there was these extra locations, and it was just like you played these 2 locations. Like you had Naboo and you had like the Theed Palace generator, and like that was it. And like nobody was activating any force the whole game because there was some weird light side card that said like if light side activates a force, dark side does too, or something wacky. I can't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was really weird format.
But my question is, does that card still exist? Because 26 sets in, and they do errata sets. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know what the original cards were, but I do know that some of those cards have changed.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, I don't know. If I'm gonna mess with open, I'm gonna mess with all of open. I'm not gonna stop at V3.
I do think VHD. Excuse me. I do think VHD's got an interesting idea with a format where you can only have 1 copy of any given card.
Yeah, a Highlander format. Yeah, I could see that.
Awesome.
That could be a fun way to play. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's all good. I think that it's great that people have ideas, and I think that if I take anything from all this, that I really agree with Andy. It's that we really just need to remember that if we want people to continue to play this game, we have to be on our best behavior, number one, and that we also really do need to make sure that we market the game on places like Reddit and Facebook Marketplace where they're selling and trading the cards and making sure people know about GEMP. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a Reddit post where somebody's been like, hey, I can't believe I just found out that GEMP exists, so yeah.
Good points. No, I agree.
Yeah, I'd show you the Reddit, but there's no way I'm typing a Reddit address into my URL on stream. That's just not happening.
No, you don't need to do that.
We don't need to see the auto completes.
Reddit is a good reading when you just want to break.
Yeah, I have a good time on Reddit. It's nice to curate things, and yeah, so Bill, you really wanted to have this discussion. I appreciate you doing that. I think we missed here somewhere. There was a point where Andy was talking about content itself being created, deck techs, tournament recaps, strategy breakdowns, collecting breakdowns, and so I think we also want to recognize the work you're doing in that area. And I think, I wish more people would do some more content creation. I know that you're working hard at it. I do a little bit. I don't do as much as you do. And I know that Board Matt still does some collecting, especially. He really focuses on the collecting side of the game more than we do. But do you see any opportunities, and how could we improve our content to reach more people, do you think?
I think I think we probably need to work a little bit on the pipeline. Because like you mentioned, like people don't know where GIMP is. So, I think a lot of my content honestly is towards like players who already know how to play Star Wars CCG or know things with the format. But I know there's like a few like how to play the GIMP, and I think someone made a comment earlier in like or later in the Slack about that. So I think the pipeline could help a little bit. A lot of times people play new format like what's a good deck. So I know they were trying with the NARP league to give them two decks, so I could probably do a little bit more to like give some decent Premier and New Hope decks and
I mean,
kind
do
of
we need to
introduce them
start?
that way.
I don't want to get burned at the stake. I really don't. However,
Okay.
do we need to just start giving everybody all our cool tech ideas before, like we're doing the like, so Premier to Hoth came out, and then we did some recap videos, we did some deck tech videos and things like that, but we didn't do it before the tournament started. And obviously, yeah, that's a detriment to our success, right? If we show what we're planning, then clearly we could be exploited in that. Is that a sacrifice that's worth it to empower a greater percentage of the players to succeed?
It could be. It could be. And I was thinking about doing this before the retro GIMP PC, like for the PDS2 format. Yeah, it could be. And I know we had a question like for MAME 32 last year, so it's a question of how many people will do it. I mean, we had a player like I think like Evan Ferguson today. I think like MAME 32, like he built his deck like right before his retro match. So
I've seen it so
I
many
don't
times. I've had people like come into their retro match. They're like, "I just put this together. I hope it works." And I'm like, "You haven't tested it yet?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "What are you thinking? What are you thinking? That's no good. That's no good." And then it doesn't. It never works out, Bill. It never
no.
works out when they say that.
No, I mean my only concern is that the people that really need the content the most are the people that are the people that don't, take it super seriously, which is fine by the way. It's a game, like play in your spare time, have fun, play a game, lose, win, I get it. It's more about the people who are more competitive are the ones who are gonna like find all our secret tech and, counter us, and then the people we trying to reach don't use it. That's my only concern, but
Yeah,
I
like
still think it's a noble goal.
think about like discussing like games and recaps. Like it's almost like you could do like one video that's just a breakdown of like here's like here's my decision process as I went through the deck. It's kind of like a see the deck in action, hear what you think it's going to work. And then I think there's just like watching a game and just you know just maybe talk about like a card choice you see, just like um not like walking through the entire game, but just like oh, that was interesting. um so that
Yeah.
just like I mean there's people are looking for different types of information to absorb. Like I'm more interested in the like okay, what do you think of like the cards you saw exposed and like the ideas behind, and like what are you um you know like what's the takeaway from a viewer on from the outside, um versus like I want to understand how to play the game.
What
but
about?
i but I think
Sorry,
a
go
but
ahead.
I think a how to play the game video could be good if done right. I'm not
Yeah,
like a
so
technical
VHD has
video
that
person.
same comment, teacher, in the chat right now. They said, what this game really needs is a scripted set of tutorial scenarios that step through the game mechanics clearly. So how maybe, one of the things that Bill and I were talking about, is what is that sweet spot of content creation? What percentage, what amount of time do we actually have people's attention for? And then, once we decide that, whether it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I think that you create a series of YouTube videos. I don't think that you could do one video to really give people a crash course. I think the game's too complex. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the hurdles, right? Because people want just, hey, let me get it. I want to play, right? So you need to have one basic, here's how to play. And then you need the correct decks on GEMP to load in. And then, with this, I was thinking, one of the things we may need is new stock decks on GEMP. Like the sample decks on GEMP are not very good anymore, right? They were good in their time. Some of them were revolutionary, right? And so you don't want to get rid of them all because you want some of those revolutionary decks in there. But I think, if we're going to make tutorial videos, there needs to be corresponding decks to say, like, if you want to learn how to play Hidden Base, here's how to play it, and now here's the deck on GEMP. Don't make them build it from scratch, or even just clicking all the cards from watching Bill's YouTube and then having to go and, one by one piece it together themselves. But just have a
Agreed.
sample deck to pull it up. It's efficient. It's easy for them, right? People are lazy. They don't want to do work. Just spoon feed it to them. Just say, here's a good deck. Here's how to play it. Now go out and have a good time.
And then if you want to take it one step further, you can, like, if you wanted to, you can even include like 5 cards in like the sideboard of like,
Mix-ups.
And here's things you may consider after you play, like, see what you may want to change.
I wish there was a way to click the cards from the sideboard directly into your deck. It's so annoying you have to go find them again.
Yeah, I keep on clicking and dragging and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah, it just disappears the card.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. And then thinking about like tutorial videos for like, hey, how do you play the deck? I feel like you don't really need to go more than like the first 3 to 5 turns. Like you can just gonna be like, set up, and then you're like, okay, now you're at your decision tree point. Like, are you gonna go down this path or that path?
Yeah, so VHD says a good deck for competitive play is not a good deck for learning game mechanics. Yes, I agree to that to a degree, which is why we need some of those sample decks set up in there that we, kind of know what the player would have at their disposal, and you can kind of teach them about that. I also think it's wise for players, as Bill alluded to earlier, starting with like Premier to A New Hope and building your way, because the mechanics add on with each additional set. They added new mechanics each set, so it's not like you can do an epic event in just Premier. It just doesn't exist yet. It's got to wait till A New Hope comes out, and you can't do a Jedi test until you get to Dagobah. You can't do an objective until you get to, what was it, Special Edition, I think. Right?
Correct.
Honestly, I would just start teaching with Premier to SR2.
But then that's all we're teaching because nobody plays past that anyway. That's all we're playing. And that's why I told Bill, I was like, yo, don't mess with Premier to Death Star 2. People are just going to like burn you at the stake. They're going to be so mad. Like people just, they Death Star, Premier to Death Star 2, man. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, like maybe like
I really like following the retro path. So, like, if you come in,
yeah,
you
don't
chase
like
the retro tournament through, and that's how I started it. I would do just Premier to Hoth, and then as retro, I would incorporate more sets until eventually I had a mastery, or what I feel to be a mastery. Other people wouldn't agree. Yeah. Some people think I use bad cards.
So do I.
That's what I told him. I was like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I like the bad cards. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Premier A New Hope. Yeah, I would start at Hoth, at least that way you get the idea of like mini objective with Evo. You get the AT-ATs for immunity on the ground. But avoid Scanning Crew.
Yeah, Scanning Crew sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Warp the game.
So Bill, is there anything else in this disc or Slack here that you want to cover? Have we commented enough?
No, I think.
Was I controversial enough? Do I need to be more controversial?
Oh, please.
How do we make it popular? You gotta say something offensive, right?
100%.
I only do that when I'm having a bad moment.
No,
Which I've done in Camp Lobby plenty of times. I'm sorry.
No, I think we covered this. I do want to say for the record that in my deck videos, I do link to my, my Google Drive, which does have the deck, but
Oh yeah, you
you're
do do
100%
that. Yeah,
correct.
yeah. You put it in the
You're 100%
comments.
correct. If we could update the decks in GIMP, that would be much better. That'd be much easier. And then the tutorial of how to play Dark Deal 44 style Prophet, if that were directly in GIMP, that would be beneficial to people. 100%. I agree with that. We can
And I
follow
have a
through with
question for VHD. Is it possible that Rebel Squad Leader gets fixed with Sean Valdez before next week? Thanks.
All right, he sidestepped your question, teacher, and he says, "Well, he's already promoted smoking joints. That's got to be controversial enough." I knew I could get it done. I knew I was the right person for the job. I said, "Boy, if there's one of us three who will say something controversial, probably going to be me."
We haven't made
What,
lots.
what
We
about
honestly
Re-
do.
what about Rebel Squad Leader VHD? Not before
Not
next
before.
week.
Oh well.
Sad.
All right.
Appreciate the intel though. Well,
There
I
was
appreciate everybody that tuned in, and we're gonna do our best to put this on Bill's YouTube. It will be available on my Twitch here for the next 7 days. People can check it out. But any last parting words, gentlemen?
you
No,
know
thank you all. Thank you all for the great discussion. I appreciate it.
yeah, thanks for having me tonight. This was fun. It's nice to hang out with you guys.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.